An opportunity lost. The Vikings with several chances on the road to secure the win, instead falling to the 49ers 34-26. Welcome into Vikings Postgame Live, presented by Miller Lite. I'm Tatum, Everett. The Vikings are now 5-6. Despite the loss, still in the playoff picture. Coming up in the show, we'll hear from Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer. We'll also do some film breakdown and hear from our guys out in the Bay Area in between the lines. But first, let's welcome in our analysts for this evening. We've got Vikings legend Robert Smith. And Robert, it just was another up and down, you're in it, you're not in it kind of game. But luckily for the Vikings, this isn't the end of the road.
No, certainly not the end of the road. And you talked about it still being in that playoff hunt, sitting at that 7th spot in the playoffs. I mean, you had Philadelphia lose, you had the Saints lose, you have the Rams losing today as well. Certainly all those things help with some opportunities towards the end of the year against the Rams in particular. But really a tough day, and I think not just from the play on the field, but from the big injuries. I mean, with Dalvin Cook going down, with Christian Darrisaw, and then a depleted defense actually losing more players today with Anthony Barr going out. Really a tough situation. But it ain't over yet.
It ain't over yet. That's so true. And you have to keep the optimism there because there's a lot of football left to play. You did touch on that depleted defense there. We'll talk about that later in the show, allowing 420 total yards. Plus, we'll talk about some of the good things we saw today. Adam Thielen having actually a career day for him right now. He had a really big moment there in the first half. And then Kane Wangu, the rookie, shines again with another kick return for a touchdown. You sometimes start to wonder when teams are going to not kick to him. But for now, we'll take it. We'll take it. And let's get to those highlights, though, for the game today. It was a very sunny and warm day out in San Francisco. And on the 49ers opening drive, a bright spot. Jimmy Garoppolo picked off by Harrison Smith for his 29th career interception.
Yeah, Harrison Smith did a great job on that play. Did a nice job disguising, fooling Jimmy Garoppolo. Threw it right to him.
And that led to Cousins finding Adam Thielen in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. First of the day, Vikes up 7-0.
Boy, just absolutely perfect placement on that ball from Kirk.
49ers respond, though, on their next drive. Deebo Samuel in for a 20-yard touchdown run as the running back this time around.
Yeah, and he has done a tremendous job running the ball all year long. He went down later in the game with an injury. Vikings really struggled on the edges of the defense today.
It was a tied game until Kirk Cousins found Adam Thielen in the second quarter to take a 14-7 lead.
Again, a nice placement, really keeping that ball away from the safety right there by Kirk Cousins.
But this was an 8-minute drive that ended with another San Francisco touchdown, capped off by a pass to Juwan Jennings. Tied the game at 14 at halftime.
And again, just ate up so much clock and really tired that depleted defense down.
And then in that first drive of the second half, the 49ers strike again. They take their first lead of the game, another Deebo Samuel touchdown. And then after Kirk Cousins' interception, it's Elijah Mitchell for the touchdown. And that's a 28 lead with just 11:09 on the clock in the third quarter. And then another change of events, though, the Vikings able to get some momentum offensively. Jefferson there, getting it out to Dalvin Cook, who picks up the first down. And then we'll see an Alexander Mattison rushing touchdown, his first of the season.
Yeah, and great creativity on that play call. Second pass we've seen Justin Jefferson complete this year. And, of course, we need to see more running on Alexander Mattison because of what has happened with Dalvin Cook.
28-20. 49ers add a field goal, and then Kane Wangu breaks free for a 99-yard kickoff return for a touchdown to give the Vikings some life.
Boy, I just love to see the second kickoff return touchdown of the year, and he got a couple of snaps in. I think he just got his second carry coming out of the backfield, so he has as many carries now out of the backfield as he has kickoff return touchdowns of the year. Of course, with Dalvin being down, it looks like he's going to be getting more carries and going to have to make sure that he knows all his protections and everything like that, but he certainly got the speed.
And there you have it, the final stats for the day. And really, there's just so many glaring stats that just didn't fall in the Vikings' favor today. You look at the amount of rushing yards, 67 versus 208. Time of possession, what a dagger there. 37 minutes they held on to the ball.
Yeah, and, it really started in that second quarter, 4 consecutive drives where the 49ers had 3 touchdowns and a field goal. You talk about that long drive. They really ate up the clock in that one. And the analogy that people use so many times is a boxing match and body blows, and that's what the run game can represent. And when you have a depleted defense, you don't have as many people that you rotate in, normal starters in the game. and it wears you down even more. And I think that's what you saw, that towards the end of the game, guys were even struggling to get to the edge and to finish tackles. Even if they got to the ball carrier, they just weren't able to bring them down. And that's just the accumulation of all those plays, all of those body blows, guys just worn out.
Yeah, there was a stretch where the Vikings gave up 21 unanswered points by the end of the second quarter to the beginning of the third, and they only ran 3 offensive plays during that span.
And one of them was an interception.
One of them was the interception, unfortunately, but then that also included that late second quarter touchdown, which now the Vikings are first in the NFL, allowing 66 points in the final 2 minutes of that second quarter. It's almost unbelievable seeing that stat.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, you can't really just point to one thing. We've seen a number of times there have been some interference calls. Got another one of those today that has certainly contributed. But for the most part, I thought that the Vikings were kind of turning the page when it came to the penalties. And you're like, hey, don't jinx it here. We saw it in the first half. Started to get some of those in the second half. But, yeah, that performance at the end of first halves has really hurt the team, particularly when a team like the 49ers is going to get the ball starting the second half.
Yeah, Let's continue with this depleted defense topic, though, because you mentioned that a couple of times now. When you think about, you don't have your 4 starting defensive linemen between Danielle Hunter, Everson Griffin, Michael Pierce, Dalvin Tomlinson, and you're hearing Jonathan Vilma, the broadcast, even being like, you need to stack the box to stop the run, but you wonder if there's any bodies that are even available to do that.
Yeah, and, you know, I thought DJ Wanham played a pretty good game today, but, you know, you just have a lot of players with inexperience up there. And, again, because of the amount of time that they were on the field today, you just had guys getting worn out. And Anthony Barr, of course, he was out with an injury later in that game. We'll see kind of what happens there. Nick Vigil has been playing pretty well this year. He's going to be getting some more time there. But those defensive injuries certainly are a concern.
Let's take a look at the Harrison Smith interception. It really started out on a good note today.
Yeah, it did. And Harrison Smith, they line up in that 2 deep safety look. So Jimmy Garoppolo thinks he's going to have middle of the field open on that play. Harrison Smith sits in the middle. Garoppolo throws it right to him. You can see he's got the vision towards the middle of the field. And Harrison Smith he squatted on that play. And he's watching Jimmy Garoppolo the whole time. They call that a rat in the hole. Sometimes you get that man-free look. And you get that safety just with the eyes back on the quarterback, and he's robbing on that play, waiting for the quarterback to try that. But then you had some problems in zone coverage in particular. You can see right here, Anthony Barr is in zone coverage, and he's just running with the receiver all the way out of the zone. You can't do that. You have got to squat in your zone and understand the structure. That receiver is going to be caught by Harrison Smith at the back end. You can't, as a linebacker, run all the way through the zone that early to cover a player. That leaves Ayuk wide open in his zone that should have been covered by Barr. So little mix-ups like that you just can't have. And to add insult to injury or injury to insult, right after that play, Anthony Barr is in the tent on the sideline. So difficult times today. Yeah,
you hate to see that kind of miscommunication happen, especially when you got a guy like Deebo Samuels, who not only plays receiver for the 49ers, but they've been using him in the past couple of weeks as a rusher. And so it says 6 attempts, but it says wide receiver under his name. I mean, he's just one of those special guys that even out of the backfield, he's hard to take down.
Yeah, and I guess they put up a stat, the only wide receiver with 5 rushing touchdowns in the Super Bowl era that's had 5 rushing touchdowns through the first 11 games
Kyle
of the year.
Shanahan, I think, likes to get in that creative game plan and make sure that, that works.
Well, I mean, the more that you give a defense to worry about, a lot of times it just a split second having somebody going in a jet motion, a guy like that, it can mess with a player's eye discipline. You get somebody out of position and big plays happen.
All right, well, Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer is at the podium post-game right now.
All right, disappointing. We couldn't finish the game. Credit to San Francisco. They did a nice job today. We continue to fight like crazy. Our guys play with a lot of fight and heart, and we just didn't quite get it done today. So, questions?
Mike, how's Dalvin Cook doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet. We'll get an MRI.
Maybe you don't know yet, but is there fear that it could be a season-ending type thing?
I don't know.
What was was the challenge like this week coming in with the defensive line missing 4 starters from week 1?
Yeah, it was difficult. We had, some guys that came in on, I guess it was Wednesday, played in the game. So, had to move a tackle to end and things like that. So, but that's NFL life.
How much do you attribute that being shorthanded to them only at 208 yards rushing today?
I don't know. I have to look at the tape.
How did you overall, before you looked at the tape, just feel about your rush defense today?
Well, I thought a lot of times we did some really good things, and then sometimes we didn't do good things.
Coach, did you see anything specifically with the end arounds to Samuel as far as lack of containment?
I think we misaligned on that one. The other ones were, these guys hold all the time, so they're grabbing us around the waist, grabbing our backs, and, officials, they don't want to call it every play, but until they start calling every play, they're not going to stop doing it.
Talking to officials, the first Evo 20-yarder around the right end, Hendricks seemed to have gotten something there. Was that some part of what you're talking about?
That's most of the day. That's what I was talking to him about.
We saw Kirk really demonstrative after what he thought may have
Excuse
been.
me?
We saw Kirk really demonstrative after what looked like may have been a pass interference, I think, to Osborne late on that.
Yeah, I thought he hooked him. I thought the defender hooked him.
What was the sequence, I think, not the last possession, but the one before that, where I guess Kirk had to go get JJ and take it to the other side, and then you had to burn a timeout?
Yeah, it was a miscommunication.
On the when it's 34-26 on the 4th down play, incomplete in the end zone, what was your advantage point, and what happened on that play in your estimation?
It looked like he just missed him.
Did Kirk seem a little bit off today? He also had that 2-point conversion where it looked like he missed the guy as well.
No, I thought he played well.
Mike, how much did turnovers have to do with the outcome of this game?
Well, we had, I think we gave up 10 points on turnovers today, and I don't think they did when we turned the ball over when they turned the ball over the one time. So.
I know we talked about it a lot, but what was the feeling going into halftime after giving up another touchdown in those last 2 minutes?
Yeah, it was disappointing, but it's not like it was a 2-minute drill. It was just 14-14 halftime. I wasn't too upset.
Coach, talk a little about what Kenny brings to the kickoff return game and how, depending on Kirk's injury, how he might be able to help you guys in the running game.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that that he may end up getting some more playing time. He got a couple carries today, I think, and then he's still a young guy. And we brought him in as a kickoff returner and a backup running back. So, but he's done a nice job in a couple of these situations for returning the ball.
Did Adam talk you into the review, or did you think that was a clear completion?
There was a lot of people talking to me.
Mike, you seem to have him stop there. You talk about the last 2 minutes of the first half. You seem to have him stop there in that one.
I think it was a 3rd and 18 or something. What happened on that?
Your 3rd and 8 and double pass. You guys had him tackled for a 10-yard loss and the holding penalty on Peterson. What do you see in there?
I heard the guy ran into Peterson. I didn't see it. I'm watching the other stuff, but yeah, I better stop it with the officials today.
What is the injury status on Anthony Barr, and how frustrating has it been for him and for you guys that his injury problems this whole season?
Anthony loves to play, and when he's hurt, it hurts him more than it hurts us.
Time for 2 more.
Coach, you just feel that this is
Excuse me?
Do you feel this is just a very well-played game? You guys matched up pretty well, even though the score was what it was, that you matched up pretty well against the 49ers?
Yeah, I think it was I thought it was a good game. Went back and forth. I thought, I thought they did a good job. They got a good team with, with their offense and defense, and and our guys fight like crazy. So, we're used to being these kind of games.
Like being used to being in these kind of games and knowing that you guys had the killer mentality the last 2 games. What do you say to the guys going forward? I mean, you came in depleted. you still fought, but how do you let that or not let that affect the next going forward?
From being around this team all year long, they've had a lot of times where they've had opportunities to let something affect them, and they just come out the next week and they play their rear ends off. So, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and I think that, I'm proud of their effort today. They played hard. I'm proud of their effort. We didn't get the win, so there's no consolation prizes, but I'm proud of the way they competed. You got guys coming in off the street on Wednesday and going out there and trying to learn the defense and play and things like that. We had some guys nicked up, lost some guys today, and they go out there and fight. We didn't get the win, but they're fighters. If nothing else, they're fighters. Thank you.
Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer just there saying how much he appreciates his guys' effort. One thing I noticed in the press conference, he didn't much appreciate the refs' efforts.
Well, and you heard him catching himself there at the end. He's thinking about the possibility of a fine there because he definitely had some problems. He's talking about the holding, in particular on that Samuel, that jet sweep type play. But he's right. I mean, you can call those things a lot of times, but sometimes there are offenses that try and get away with it a little bit more than others, and certainly he felt that the 49ers were doing that. So
yeah, he was.
A little bit of home cooking right there.
Yeah, he did catch himself before he got himself in trouble.
Yeah.
Someone that really didn't get himself in trouble today was Jimmy Garoppolo. After that interception on the opening drive, he played a pretty clean game, Robert.
Yeah, he really did. And, the pass rush really wasn't getting home a whole lot. There were a couple opportunities that they did have to get to him. But he did a pretty good job for the most part. And we talked about some of the problems that the Vikings had, particularly in zone coverage, not closing soon enough. Xavier Woods, in particular, earlier in the game, I thought he had an opportunity, if not to knock a ball loose, but maybe to get an interception. We saw the play by Anthony Barr, but a pretty good job by Jimmy Garoppolo.
And Kirk Cousins also threw an interception today. It was his first on-the-road interception in more than a year. It snapped a streak of 349 consecutive road pass completions. So that was an unfortunate day for Kirk Cousins. 20 of 32 for 238 yards.
Yeah, and his accuracy was really erratic today. There were some pinpoint accuracy plays that we normally see from Kirk Cousins, and there were some head scratchers, like the two-point conversion play to Justin Jefferson. Justin was wide open on that play, and Kirk, you could see him just bent over after the play, like, what am I doing? Like, he just threw the ball right to his feet. But if it was easy, everybody would be playing quarterback, right?
Yeah, you're right. He had a couple of frustrating Kirk Cousins signature faces there after a few of those throws there in the second half. Not after the ones to Adam Thielen, who really was a bright spot in this game. Thielen with his first career 2 touchdowns in the first half performance.
Yeah, and we say it so many times about Adam Thielen. He just gets better and better. I think he does such a good job of studying himself, studying his releases, does a tremendous job there. But he also has such a great rapport with Kirk Cousins, and I think that helps so much. They understand how they're going to react to certain coverages, how they're reacting to certain leverage, and I thought that was really key on a couple of plays in particular. Today, Kirk Cousins did a really nice job of placing some balls absolutely perfectly on those 2 touchdown throws in particular.
It's the pair's 38th touchdown, 37 and 38 in this game, which is second in Vikings history. They're behind Dante Culpepper and Randy by a lot right now, but I mean, it's understandable.
That's pretty good company, and I know something that Adam Thielen really appreciates, being from Minnesota and the history with those 2 guys.
Yeah, here he is today, 5 receptions for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns. With those touchdowns, he passes Kyle Rudolph for 5th all-time in career receiving touchdowns in franchise history, with 49 all-time. And like you said, being a Minnesota guy, he just likes to do what's best for his team, including scoring touchdowns in the game.
I thought this was just a tremendous play. You're going to see Adam Thielen lined up on the right-hand side here. A tremendous release, and whether it was zone or man, in this case it's going to be zone, and he reacts. You see the defender react up to the play action, and Kirk knows that he has to get this ball back in the end zone high, where only Adam Thielen can catch it, and that defender's in that trail position. He placed that ball absolutely perfectly. And then in this next play, you're going to see him lined up in the slot here, and he's going to break free on this deep crossing route But Kirk sees that the safety is going to be closing on this play, so he doesn't want Adam to continue across. 6 yards away right there. Hey, I got to throw this ball away from the trouble. Looked like this was an inaccurate throw, but he's actually throwing Adam Thielen away from the trouble. Tremendous job right there. Tremendous throw. Nice adjustment on the ball by Adam.
Yeah, how much does that particular catch show how much body control Adam Thielen has?
It shows a tremendous amount. And look, it takes a heck of a quarterback to make that throw and to be able to read the field that way. But it's something that you come to expect from these guys. It's never easy, but they work so hard on their craft day in and day out, and Adam's just been so great at that over the years. Just always finds a way to get open, and that body control that he has, as you can see on display right there. Just it's one thing to have the body control, but then to be able to extend the hands and catch the ball cleanly the way that he does, it's fun to watch.
All right, well, it's time to head back out to Santa Clara and hear from Gabe Henderson and Ben Lieber on Between the Lines.
All right, thanks, Tatum. Ben, there was a lot of yards on the ground today for this San Francisco 49ers defense. And if we could have used a 12th man today, maybe Ronnie Lott, the number who we're standing beside, maybe we would have stopped the run a little bit better.
Yeah, if Ronnie Lott could play sort of an overhang edge player, which I know that he probably could, we could have used his help. But, that's the thing. We knew that they were going to run the football. We knew we were going to get their true identity, which is a lot of those toss plays. Now, those toss plays are tricky because normally when you see toss action, it's usually an outside run, but they do such a good job of mixing up where it's a downhill run, it's sometimes a downhill cutback, and just that nuance was enough to keep us on our heels. And, we just did not beat enough single blocks. There are times where you can't go man up on these single blocks and expect to win. Sometimes you have to chop a guy down. Sometimes you have to create a pile to make that running back not have a clean read. So we didn't do enough of that. We didn't do enough disruption in the run game, and ultimately it was the game of attrition at the end.
Yeah, I think if I had to sum this game up, I would sum it up by giving up 21 points in 4 minutes. Right before the half, the opening drive, Kirk throws an interception on our opening drive, and then they score again. Been the story of the season thus far, 66 points giving up in the last 2 minutes of the half. We got to change that.
We got to change it. And you look back at that drive, and it's like we did everything right, and then you get sort of a soft call on Patrick Peterson, and that extends the drive on third down. And I know everyone say like, well, what's happening? That's why the margin is so slim in this game, that they did everything right. I get that the 49ers are on the plus side of the 50, but you had a chance to keep them out of field goal range. You had a chance to keep points off the board, and Patrick Peterson gets a little hand heavy, I believe, on George Kittle, who's a big guy, and I knew that he probably
ran over him a little
he kind of ran over him, and to me it was a play where they're both bringing the physicality. Mm-hmm. How you can call that play defensive holding on him, that's why I think it's a soft penalty. It goes against us, extends their drive, and ultimately they get the points on the board.
All right, lastly, Vikings lose 34-26. They're 5-6 now. Got a Lions team coming up on the road that we travel to on next Sunday, possibly without Dalvin Cook. How did this offense bounce back?
Well, we've seen this offense bounce back without Dalvin before. So, we're going to need Alexander Mattison. And look, Kane Wangu, he got his first carry of his NFL career. And I think that we should see more of that, because I think that obviously with his kickoff return ability, he has the vision to see the holes. Right. He has the speed. He has the strength to break some tackles. Now that he has to just get comfortable in the run scheme, which obviously they trusted him out here today. So, maybe we see a little bit more two-back action now with Kane.
Tatum, back to you.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, Kane Wangu, I love that they touched on that right before heading out, because he did have such a great performance, and he really is a very big special teams weapon for this group.
Yeah, he's a big special teams weapon, but obviously with the injury to Dalvin Cook, and here as we sit, we don't know the extent of it. Didn't look good. Anytime somebody gets carted off like that, you're guessing that he's going to be out at least a game, but we're going to see what happens there. But you can talk about how somebody runs and all of those things as a running back, but it always starts with protection. You're not going to put a running back in the backfield if they don't know all of the protections and if you don't feel comfortable that they can execute and block the way that they're supposed to. no running back in the league is more valuable to their team than the guy that they're blocking for at quarterback. So just understand that. And I'm not saying that Kenny doesn't know his plays and isn't able to block, but I think when people consider what it takes to get a running back time in the backfield, that has to be first and foremost in their minds, and make sure that he can handle the protections and that he can block when he needs to.
Of course, because if you don't have Dalvin Cook in the game, one of the most dynamic rushers in the league, you also lose out on the best blocker as a running back in the NFL. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
We're going to head out and look at some of these NFC North scores. The Green Bay Packers get back on track with a 36-28 win over Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. And earlier this week on Thanksgiving Day, I don't know about you, but I definitely tuned into this one. Chicago Bears won 16-14 over the Lions. This was the third Lions game where they lost in a game-winning field goal, which we all know that one of those was
Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker was a 66-yarder where it bounced on the crossbar.
Yes, still winless on the year, and that's the team obviously we will see next week. Here are the NFC North standings, though. Vikings even at 5-6, still 5-6, still strong holding that second spot with four NFC North teams left, or games left to go. So it's going to be an interesting stretch of games, Robert. You've got the Lions next week, then the Thursday night game against the Steelers. The Monday night game against the Bears. Still have to play the Rams and Packers. But with 6 games, there's still a lot of football, meaningful football left on the schedule.
Well, there's no question about it. And I love what I heard from Zim there at the end of his press conference and said, look, after all the adversity, everything that he's seen from the players this year, whenever they've had an opportunity to just fold, they haven't.
Yeah.
And I think it says a lot about him. It says a lot about his staff. But more importantly, it says a lot about the players in that locker room, because there are a lot of second unit guys. And that's what football is sometimes. It's next man up. It's not a question of if there are going to be injuries. It's when there are going to be injuries and how you react to those injuries and getting the new players in the game. We know that that's what football is. So that was encouraging to me. And I think even the way that they played at the end of the game after the missed field goal by the 49ers and trying to get down the field, there's just no quit in this team. But ultimately, you have to go out there and put your best foot forward and execute when you need to execute. Unacceptable the way that they played run defense today. I think those guys know that, but those are some young second unit guys that are going to need more reps like everybody else. So I think the season's not over, and I think it's a good opportunity to go on the road against the Detroit Lions team and get to 500.
Yeah, you see how close the game was played there back in Week 5 against the Lions. They're still looking for their first win. This will be a home game against the Vikings. How do you see this one playing out?
Well, I think a lot of it's going to depend on who's going to be healthy for the Vikings in this one. Are some of those players going to be back along that defensive line? Is Anthony Barr going to be able to play in this one? I'm assuming that Dalvin Cook's not going to be able to play, but that's something that we're going to have to wait and see. They did a pretty good job defensively against us the last time, and I think some of that was just self-inflicted wounds. And we're also going to have to see what happens with Darrisaw. Of course, Rashad Hill started off the year at that left tackle spot.
That's true.
Then Christian Darrisaw came in, looked like he was injured today during the game, had to leave, and Rashad Hill came in. So we're going to see how that looks as well.
Yeah, a long week, hopefully a good week for healing, so that we can go in a less depleted team when we take on the Lions next week, a week from today. Thank you so much to Robert Smith for being our analyst today. Vikings legend, always welcomed here at TCO Studios. For Vikings Postgame Live, presented by Miller Lite, I'm Tatum Everett. We'll see you this time next week.